Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, you are never ever alone. Here on Invisible Condition, we get it. We know life can be tough sometimes. Okay, totally get it. We're on board. We also know that there is always hope. Always. There's always hope. If it's been a while since you've experienced that, join us. It's a nice place to be. Hope is a beautiful thing. And if you need more, keep watching. It's beautiful. It's a good thing. So, all right. Before we bring our guest on today, I want to tell you about just a couple short things here. One is our nonprofit. The nonprofit side of Invisible Condition is called Hydro with Hope. And Hydro with Hope was established a few years ago in order to help families and individuals that are living with a condition called hydrocephalus. It's what I was born with. And it has resulted in 7 brain surgeries and, directly and indirectly, about 15 surgeries overall, starting at 2 weeks old for me and going all the way through my life. The last brain surgery I had was in October of 2021. So it's been quite a wild ride. And those of us with hydrocephalus, which is just brain surgery, sometimes it's just a part of the deal. And so as you can imagine, for the family, it can be a little bit crazy and a little bit scary. And so we are there to help. And we have tangible resources such as a journal that we provide for people and, one-on-one, I hate the word counseling, but I'm happy to talk with anybody that wants to talk, about their experience and get the help they need, and the demand for help has outgrown our income to be able to help. And so if you would like to donate, please go to hydrowithhope.com and donate, or send me an email right here at invisiblecondition@e360tv.com. And if you want to help even more, if you want to go next level and help us out as being a part of our board, I would love to talk to you about that. So yeah, shoot us a message and we'll chat. Also, along those same lines, we're filming a TV show here. We have amazing guests. We also have amazing advertisers and sponsors. If anybody out there is interested in being an advertiser or sponsor or product placement, like we got a nice little place right here. We could do product placement. We did that a couple shows ago with an amazing coffee roaster. Put their bags of coffee right there, and it was awesome. So if you are interested in any form of that advertising, please let me know. Email me at invisiblecondition@e360tv.com. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. So, all right, let's bring our guest on here. Actually, I'm going to put this back here, and then we're going to bring the guest on. Now, our guest today is this is going to be a cool show. So Kerryn Van Der Merwe is my guest, and she was told as a teenager that she would likely spend her life in pain and even have to have hip replacement by the time she turned 30, which nobody wants to hear. No, hip replacement sucks no matter how old you are, but at 30, come on. So instead, she defied the odds and recently running the London Marathon completely pain-free, said, no thanks, hip replacement surgery, I'm out. So she now dedicates her life to helping others do the same. And so as the founder of an amazing organization that she will tell you all about, she has created a global platform that makes movement simple, accessible, and healing, especially for those who are struggling with chronic things, chronic conditions, chronic pain, So I can't wait for you to meet her. Let's get her on here. There we go. Oh my gosh. All right, Kerryn, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. This is going to be cool. I can't wait to get this out here. All right. So first thing I want to do, now on this show, I always start out with a question at the beginning of the show that I ask everybody because I always love the answer. There's never a bad answer. So on the days in the midst of all that pain, in the midst of all the craziness, in the midst of all the, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? How did you still maintain hope?
I think for me personally, it was purely stubbornness. I mean, I just I was fortunate enough to have quite stubborn parents that were possibly a little bit dubious of what medical professionals thought they knew, which in some regards, is hilarious. But they were sort of like, if it's something you want to do, it's something you want to do, then off you go. So from a young age, one of the biggest things was that I wanted to dance. And
Nice.
so that was the first thing basically taken off the table for me. And I just wasn't having that. So if it was to do what I loved but have pain, then that was okay. That was still the better choice. And then I suppose you just get frustrated to the point of it can't be the only answer. It can't be the only way. Even
Yeah.
if you can improve something by 60%, then I'll take it,
Yeah.
So I think on those days when you're really frustrated, it starts off as stubbornness that it has to get better. And then once you've had a few of those, you have a little bit of proof that when it gets really bad again, don't worry, there's going to be a way for it to get better again. So just sort of practicing that muscle of tenacity and I'm going to figure this out.
Nice. That's a good answer. I love that because that's what I think a lot of people would totally be on board with you at that with any kind of condition. You just have to be, you gotta be tenacious. You gotta not give up and keep going. And it's true. It's amazing. I love that. Thank you.
I mean, of course,
Um,
that makes it sound like it's as easy as just deciding you'll be okay, which it definitely isn't.
no, it's definitely
um,
not. No.
but I think the sort of human condition is we're designed to get through things,
Yeah.
and we're designed to figure it out. And I think what's incredible, like with platforms like this one, is more and more people are figuring it out and then sharing their journeys. And I think whatever you've overcoming in itself is something worth sharing because you never
Yeah.
know where people are in their journey. And sometimes just knowing, okay, well, if that person figured that out, then maybe I can figure this out.
Right. Kind of like we were just at a conference recently and kind of a mastermind with our mastermind group in Las Vegas recently and we were talking about who was it, Bannister, the 4 minute mile guy, the guy that like way back in the, what was it, 50s or 60s or something, like the 4 minute mile was considered impossible.
Mm.
Impossible. No human on earth could possibly break the 4 minute mile. That's impossible until somebody did it. And then like 30 more people did it that year. And so, yeah, it's,
And it's strange to think, and we have so much research that backs it up about
yeah,
sort of the power of the mind and believing that something
yeah,
is possible. And I think it gets a bit lost, and we think that believing anything is possible is this kind of like out there voodoo thing to
right.
have, and it's naive. But I think when you pull it back, when we have evidence of something, we are biased towards it happening, and
Yeah,
that's actually what believing in it means. So it's fantastic. I mean, at the moment someone does something that someone else thought was impossible, their bias is changed because now they have the proof.
right.
So I think sharing the proof is super important
Yeah,
because that proof might be exactly what someone needs to hear to change their bias and therefore alter their journey.
right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I say this a lot, but if you told me that I was going to be hosting a TV show on a TV platform that goes everywhere in the world, if you'd have told me that 5 years ago, I would have laughed you out of the room. But you
Exactly.
never know. You never know. And everything just leads to the next thing. And here we are. So it's, don't ever think it's crazy because if somebody else, especially if you've seen somebody else do it, no
Exactly.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly.
Might be hard, but it's possible. So yeah. So I know we want to dive. I know we totally want to dive into all the helping what you're helping people with now, and the Pilates and the movement and all the things. But I kind of want to go back to that, to way back when you were like 13, or right, and hearing the doctors tell you that you were gonna have hip surgery. That's hip surgery as a teenager, man. That's got to be a hit, like a blow, you know.
Yeah, it
Um,
wasn't great.
no,
It
like
wasn't
what?
cool. That's for sure.
No,
It was
what
not
is?
cool. I started my first year of high school. I was on crutches for 9 months.
Oh,
It was not cool.
come on.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I grew up in South Africa. I grew up on a farm. I had a very outdoorsy, very active childhood.
Yeah.
In South Africa, schooling wise, we are all pushed to do all of the sports, especially in our earlier years. So I did a little bit of everything. I always knew I wanted to dance. The story is, apparently I asked my mom to put me in ballet from when I could basically speak. And she was like, I'm not having any of that drama until you know what you really want. You can do it when you're 5. I turned 5. I said, let's go. She refused to buy me sort of shoes or any of the kit, in case, obviously, like kids do, you try it out for 2 weeks and then you hate it.
Right.
So I did the first, term just in my sort of tracksuit and socks, and I loved it, and I never stopped. So that was great, and I think because I was so active. I mean, knowing now what I know about the anatomy of the condition I was born with, I understand exactly what happened. Basically, my symptoms were accelerated because of, I was riding horse, I was
Mm,
dancing, I was doing a lot of things that required hip range and mobility.
yeah.
So for many people, they might have had the same structural issue, but they may never have discovered an issue until later on in their lives.
Yeah.
So I mean, by the time we got to the point of them wanting to operate, I had been in a fair amount of pain for a good 2 to 3 years leading up. So by that point, we were almost, the problem is with a diagnosis from someone like a surgeon is, if there's something you are struggling with, you're almost super thankful, like, even if it's an
Sure.
intense intervention, it means solution, or at least that's what we think and we hope and we believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I so what I have is extra bone growth on the head of my femur. So where the round part of your hip should be smooth and fit nicely into the socket, mine isn't. There's bits of extra bone growth, which essentially meant the joint wasn't happy,
Yeah.
and it therefore was restricted. So it was sort of chipping away at the neck of the
Oof.
femur. It was tearing through the ligaments slowly but surely. It was like a really bad wear and tear injury, but
Mm,
on a 10-year-old instead of like an 80-year-old. So by the time we got into sort of the surgical space, we had a really good doctor, and I still, to this day, I'm very thankful for him.
mhm.
He really he took to the fact that, I mean, I was obviously quite young, and that was really
Yeah.
brought into consideration. So when the decision was made to do the surgeries, they had decided that the bones were developed enough to operate on, because the problem with anyone who's still growing is anything done to the bone could obviously stunt, any trauma to the bone can
Yeah.
stunt the bone growth.
Totally.
So when I actually had the surgery, it wasn't that it was unsuccessful, but they weren't actually able to do what they wanted to do. So they got
Mm,
into the surgery and into the joint, and then he decided he didn't believe that the bones were completely developed and he didn't want to touch them,
okay.
which is a massive call for him to have made on, in the moment. And it was his sort of morality and conscience that made that decision. And I mean, we never know which way it could have gone. He
Right.
could have scraped the bone and it could have been great. He could have scraped the bone and I could have a severe limp at this point. So,
Right.
in the bigger scheme of things, although it meant that we didn't get the solution we wanted, it was still a safer bet, and they were able to repair other bits of the damage around the joint and sort of
Yeah.
do as much as they could. So with that being said, what they then had a bit of a roadmap for us, and I think this is where you kind of decide, okay, I've been given this roadmap. Is this now the roadmap I'm going to follow
Yeah.
and sort of base my whole life around it, or am I going to decide absolutely not? Because their roadmap was come back at 18, have the surgery I was supposed to have at 13 at 18,
Oh,
possibly do another check in under the knife at about 25, and then be looking at hip replacements by 30. And that all came with a little bit of a, especially if, you keep moving, you keep dancing, you keep doing your
right.
sports. And so after the surgeries, we basically had a long list of things not to do, things that would irritate the joint, things that would make it worse, anything sort of
Oh my
long
goodness.
distance endurance, any sort of like, being seated for too long. It was a long, long list of things. Now, knowing what I know now, working in the industry of physical rehabilitation,
Yeah.
it's very clear to me, number one, medicine, like everything, is evolving. And
Yep.
hopefully, fewer and fewer doctors are operating, or surgeons are operating with this long list of no's. Because what we, hopefully, all of us are starting to understand is that the body is a use it or lose it tool. So,
Yep.
by cutting out all these things, you are almost always doing yourself a disservice versus not. And I mean, that's not
Yeah.
even getting into sort of like the psyche behind
Oh yeah.
keeping someone from things that they love. And, and I think that's where I really have my parents to thank, because I mean, I think I mean, if I would have droned on about it, about still wanting to dance, my parents were really, really pro passion. My brother played rugby up until a very high level. I took my dancing as far as I could. They were very pro us doing what we wanted to do. So they were kind of like, well, let's just get you back into it then. If you're already in pain and they're already going to have to fix it later, then
Right.
why not? Why not have a bit of a childhood, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great, because I mean, they could have rightly so said surgeon says no. So
Oh, totally. They could have easily just fallen on that every time and said,
and
no, no, no.
and they wouldn't have been wrong to do so.
No.
I mean, it's like the highest medical profession you've ever been with, and this is what
Yeah.
they tell you about your child. So yeah, I mean, in some ways maybe it was slightly irresponsible, but like in the best way possible, which I love them
Yeah.
for, so that's great. And
Yeah.
so in the sort of rehabilitation process, I had to get back into my dancing. And this again is something that I think is always a bit misunderstood in terms of surgery and rehabilitation after surgery with something with a physical body. Is we think it's the surgery you're recovering from, but it's not. It's the time off, it's the
Yeah.
immobilization, it's everything around the actual surgery.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time, and I mean, in many ways, the rehabilitation actually made me a better dancer. It made me much better at what I was
Sure.
doing, because it made me go back to basics. I had a chance to kind of restart.
Yeah.
But for a good 5 years, I was never actually pain free, and I was never actually functioning well. I was getting constant repeat injuries. I had a terrible sort of like misalignment going on between the two sides.
Yeah.
I really struggled. I loved what I was doing, and I really did do the best that I could. However, I was constantly seeing a physio, having to have
Sure.
loads of different supplementary treatments with it, and I definitely had a lot of pain. And I do actually remember, again, now that I know so much more, I remember about 2 weeks before my first surgery, my mom asking me, I was obviously complaining about being in pain. And I remember my mom saying to me, do you think you're actually in more pain? Or do you think you just know now that there is something wrong? And, she
More
basically, in
noticeable.
a roundabout way, asked me, do you think you're making it up? And obviously, I mean, I was 13. So I was like, no, I'm in so much, whatever. But now when I look at it, I'm like, it's not that I was making it up, but of course you give your mind something to focus on, and you
Right.
are fed all this information about how bad it is, and there's no sort of like clear path to how it could be better or will be better. Your body is going to pick up on that. Your nervous system is designed to protect you. It's going to be sending
Yep.
whatever signals it can. And
100%. Yeah.
I like that I can remember that experience, because it really helps me with the people I work with now, with helping them
Yes,
understand this really deep effects of pain, and
for
trying
sure.
to, trying to navigate physical pain. It's really challenging.
And yeah, I mean, it can be, and that's why you're doing what you're doing, and that's what inspired you to go into the thing, the line of work that you're doing, which your website was there, and I want to talk more about that, but we do need to take a short break to make the sponsors happy. So we're going to do that real quick right now. And then I definitely want to dive into your website and how people can contact you. And what we're going to do in the second segment, we're going to basically talk about how, I mean, you don't have to live with chronic pain, everybody, I think is going to be the message for the second segment. And we're going to talk more about that. And looking forward to it. So everybody stick around. Do not go anywhere. There is so much more to come. And we'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's cause of choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
Hey everybody, Craig Tomanini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Hey friends, this is Ben Hummel. I'm the host of the Genius Way Show, where you'll learn to access your inner gifts, talents, and callings, and how to express them out in the world. Join me here each Sunday at noon Pacific time on the Achieve TV network, right here on E360 TV.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Kerryn, thank you for being here. This is awesome. And there's so much more of the story that we need to get to here. One thing that I did think of while you were saying, talking about your parents, I just have to point this out. You and I have that in common. My parents are amazing. They're still around. They're awesome. A condition like the one I was born with brain surgery on the horizon and all the things, repeated brain surgery and all the different things, like they could have put me in a bubble and said, don't go outside, don't talk to people, don't play sports, don't participate in this, don't do this, nah. They just said, look, you're a kid, go play, do your thing. Every once in a while, you might have to have surgery. Every once in a while, we got to go to a doctor appointment, but go do your thing, man. So I mean, I've been an avid snowboarder for 30 years because of that. I skateboarded when I was a kid. I've done all kinds of stuff. And I don't think I would be doing this if they had not instilled that belief in me that I'm fine. Every once in a while, just got to do some stuff that maybe other kids don't have to do, you know?
Yeah.
So I love hearing that kind of stuff from other people too. So
I think that's likely what we lose a little bit as adults who are then diagnosed or come into something that is chronic, because I think if you if you are lucky enough to have parents or the responsible adults in the room telling you that it's okay, that's fantastic, because that's who you rely on. But
Mhm.
as we get older and those decisions are all up to us, and we're listening to other adults, and we're listening to official medical information, and we're listening to all these things, and all of a sudden it can become so almost paralyzing in that moment, and you then you let go of a lot of things that bring you a lot of joy. And it's not that the joy in having a full life cancels out your chronic condition, but if you are only living with whatever your chronic condition is and
Yeah.
around it, then that only makes things more difficult. I mean, it just
Yeah.
closes you off to people, to experiences, to jobs, to opportunities, to all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see that a lot with certain personalities, with certain conditions, is
Yep.
some people are able to move through it and others cannot necessarily easily by themselves, which is it's just really interesting. I
Yeah.
think if you were lucky enough, as you were with your folks, then that's fantastic, because you
Yeah.
you weren't your condition, you were you,
Right.
and you had this thing you had to deal with, which
Exactly. Yeah. And that's very different than it's almost like I didn't own it. I've never said I have this. I've always
yeah,
said I was born with this. This was a condition I was born with, and this is who I am, and this is what I've done.
yeah.
But yeah. So, well, tell us about your website real quick, and just throw people in there and say this is what you'll find. I mean, we've got the QR code there. So
Amazing. So through all of my own sort of physical therapy and all of that, I started working with a woman when I was about 19 who was a Pilates instructor. And I found that the practice of Pilates basically took away my pain. Now, that is because with the hip impingement, my alignment was out. My pelvis
yeah,
was misaligned. I'd been compensating from such a young age that I built compensatory patterns. So even though I was moving and dancing and doing all these things, my body was really straining through all of it. And what Pilates does is it fixes your alignment. And once I got that right, it became so clear that I, first of all, needed to undo and redo a whole bunch of patternings within my body, but it gave me a tool to consistently bring myself back to being as pain-free as possible.
nice.
So naturally, I then, fell absolutely in love with the practice of Pilates, and I got myself into the wellness and fitness industry. When I moved to the UK, even more so, it's a bigger industry here, of course.
Yeah,
And I quickly had a moment of going, okay, well, the fitness industry is not helping us with this at all. The fitness industry is not telling us what we need to know. It's not educating us. It's coming from a place of shame, from aggression. It's shameful propaganda the whole time. And what it's doing is it's basically saying healthy has a certain look, and you can only really be interested in the mechanics of your body if you're interested in also looking like an athlete.
Hmm.
And I was working with people who had pain and things go wrong with their bodies, but they didn't really know that physical exercise could help, because physical exercise seemed like this unattainable thing that you did when you were going to 360 your life and
yeah,
become, whatever, a part-time athlete. And I feel, really, really strongly about this sort of miscommunication, because we all have a body. So whether whether the condition that you're dealing with is pain and it's a physical thing, or whether it's something else health related, every single person lives in a body.
yep,
And we just are so undereducated on how it should be functioning and how well it can be functioning. And yes, there's loads, coming out about supplementation and ways to support your health from that regard. But movement, it still seems to be this thing reserved for athletes, reserved for people that are going to take it to the extremes. And it just shouldn't be. Movement is a functional part of every single person's day. It becomes more and more important as our lives become more sedentary and automated. And the thing is, it is simple. It doesn't require expensive solutions. It doesn't require like loads of time out of your day. Once you have a simple understanding of your mechanics, you can by yourself look after your body in less than 15 minutes every day. So in a nutshell, that is what my offering is. I am a multi-qualified trainer. So I am qualified in all forms of Pilates across all the equipment. I'm also a strength trainer. I've also worked with in massage therapy and understanding the tissue of the body and how to manipulate it and make change. I don't believe that there is one sort of form of exercise that is superior. I know at the moment, Pilates is trending. Everyone is saying it's the best thing in the world. It is. But if you look at the foundations of it, the foundations are alignment, breath, mind and body connection. It's got nothing to do with anything else. If you do any movement with those things in mind, you're going to be great. And I just wanted to create a platform and a space that was accessible to people who didn't feel like they were already in the fitness industry. I think physical wellness and the fitness industry are two different things at the moment. They shouldn't be, but they are. And if someone is ill or in pain or struggling, they're probably not hyped up enough to jump on a fitness craze or to go to, the class down the road that's like the boot camp. You're probably not feeling up to just jumping on all these crazy trends. However, you could probably still benefit so much by healing your body with some movement. So that's sort of where the idea of KezaWellness came from, is going, how do I take this thing that seems to be exclusive? It seems to be like a luxury, like only people who could afford the time and the mind space and the sort of luxury of going to fancy classes and having personal trainers, only they deserve to have healthy bodies, which is really not the case. I mean, most people who work in sort of like physical labor or care work or teachers or, things that are difficult schedules and maybe not as high paying, and they don't have the time and the energetic resources, they are the ones that need it the most. They need support the most. And what the fitness industry says is, if you want it bad enough, you'll find the time, you'll find the this, you'll find the that. And like, that is not easy for many people. It's not accessible. It's definitely not accessible if you're already in pain, if you're already dealing with something else. So I wanted to create a platform that basically helped people with their physical fitness in like 5 to 15 minutes in simple terms. The content is designed, there's a lot of seated videos, there's a lot of standing stuff, there's stuff on the floor, there's stuff you can do sort of on the side of your bed. It's designed to be accessible in as many ways as possible, meaning you can do it whenever. You don't need a lot of time, you don't need a change, you don't need a specific outfit, you don't need anything else other than to push play and get to know your body.
And are these all things free on your website, or is there a membership, or is there how's your website look?
So at the moment, it is a membership tier on the website. I do have a YouTube as a free resource, which you can get to via the website. And that covers a bunch of free and a lot of educational content as well. I'm currently moving more into the educational side, as I do feel like this is somewhere that a lot of us get lost. once you understand why you're doing certain movements and how they can help you, you're empowered to continue that yourself. And I'm really enjoying that throughout the practice. What there is available on my website that you have on screen at the moment is a free consultation call. And what this is it's not necessarily for you to start working with me. It's to get an idea of where you're at and possibly point you in the right direction. I am not, after having worked with so many different people, I truly believe that there's a major ecosystem and that many clients need different things. So I love talking to people and possibly pointing them in a direction that I think that will help them. Yes, sometimes that direction is from my own offerings, but more than often, I'm just happy to share with them. I've come from the same place. Think my whole journey could have been sped up if I'd met the right persons sooner.
I mean,
and
sure.
if I'd, come out of the womb and started doing Pilates at 3 years old, I would probably never have had the issue. And I do just think it's our responsibility as practitioners, as people, as survivors, people who are on the other side of any chronic journey, is to just share and educate as much as possible. So that is something that I always say to people, like, let's just have a chat. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what the low hanging fruit is for you. It could just be a 5-minute YouTube video that you do 3 times a week just to get you off zero and feeling like you have a few wins. I think that's the other thing is the positive upwards spiral. We need that. And when people are coming from a place of chronic pain or chronic stress or just really, struggling, it seems like everything is a failure, and maybe you sign up for something and it's too big of a feat and you don't manage it, and it's another thing you failed at. And with every failure, it breeds more failure. We want to flip that round. We want to give you something easy and attainable that leaves you feeling good, so that you think, okay, you know what, I just did that, that's amazing, now I'm going to do this, now I'm more equipped to do the next thing. So that's really how I like to approach my work. So on that website, you'll find the different membership offerings. I also do free live classes. I keep updating the schedule onto that website as well. There's links up to the YouTube. And then, of course, the consultation option is there as well. And I love to hear from people. If there's something that you're dealing with, even if you don't know how physical therapy can help with it, I'm sure that there's always a way. If you're in a physical body, then there's a way that physical therapy can help.
For sure. Well, and speaking of that, of all the people that are, for those of you who are watching right now and going, yeah, Pilates, I've heard of that. I thought it was this. I thought it was that over there. No, tell me more about it. Any questions you have. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, put a comment in there. Ask a question. Kerryn can get back to you. I can get back to you. Anybody, we can make sure that you get in touch. That QR code will lead you to the website so that you can get in touch with her. There's no excuses. If you want to get in touch with her, we can get you in touch. So if you have questions or you want to reach out, these are amazing places to do it as well if you're watching on one of those platforms. So when we come back from our break, we are going to talk a little bit more about how this all works and how people can jump on board, but also it'd be cool to just tell some success stories. Clearly you've been doing this for a while, and I want to. It's always fun to end on some success stories. So we'll tackle that when we get back. But everybody, stick around. Do not go far. And that QR code will be back in just a couple minutes, as will we. So thanks. See you soon.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod. The world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've been rolling right along here, and we're almost done. But this has been awesome. There is so much that you have told us about what you're doing and all this stuff. I'm just excited to hear maybe some success stories. Or the other thing is, you're also building kind of a global platform, right? With different support plans. And how do you, with all of that going on, like, how do you actually personalize movement for people? Because they're all in different stages, right? Everybody's in a different place. So how do you go about doing that? Or if somebody comes to you and says, I'm brand new, I don't know what I'm doing, where do I start? The
way I've sort of set it up is that I've got a few starting point routines, call it that.
Okay.
And the platform itself is actually divided to be a pain management, a mobility, and then a strengthening vibe. So you can see where you're going. If you're someone who's brand new, you're going to be sort of in the pain management and exploration phase.
Okay.
And then you're going to be moving more into a little bit of mobility and repatterning, and then you might be looking for strengthening. And the reason I've set it up like this is because to make physical change, there are 3 steps, and often people enjoy one of the 3. Sometimes they do 2 of the 3, but they very seldomly get all 3. And those 3 steps are, you got to treat the acute pain and release the tension in the body, the incorrect tension. You got to get rid of that. And then step number 2 is re-education. So it's teaching the body how to move. We never want to say no to movement. We never want to cut out movement. I work with, middle-aged men that have slipped discs. They've been told no more golf, no more this. They are back on the golf course. That's what they love to do. That's what they're doing. There's no way that a surgeon's going to tell you can't, do X, Y, Z, because the movement happens anyway.
Yep.
I've worked with people who've been told to not lift their arms above their head, and then after a few questions, I'm asking, how are you putting your shirts on? How are you packing your plates away? You're doing that still. So all you're doing then is avoiding supporting your body for these movements, because there is no way for you to avoid movement. Life is too random. It's too demanding. So, step 2 is that re-education, that mobility, realignment. It's where everything sort of resets. And then everyone's fantastic. They're out of pain. They're feeling good. They're getting back to their movement. And that's usually where people fall off. And that's the most important point, because we need to reinforce these newfound patterns, these good habits that your body has. And so in terms of personalization, I mean, I always start, anyone who joins the platform, I make sure that I personally have an assessment with them. And that then helps me understand where they should be within the ecosystem. Are they good to jump on with a little plan, move by themselves and check in with me in a month? Or do they need a little bit more one-to-one support? Typically, people who have quite an acute injury or dealing with quite a lot of pain, they require anything from about 8 to 12 one-to-one sessions, just to ensure that we really are understanding as we go. But that can be spread out over quite a bit of time, and it does require a little bit of self-homework to be done in between. I think one of the biggest misconceptions with moving the body at the moment is we like to see our exercise and our physical activity as investment, like we're topping up a savings account. But actually, we're paying off a debt. We're trying to work out of an overdraft. So people will say to me, oh, but I do half an hour every day. And I'm like, that's amazing. And that is going to be so helpful. But for the other 12 hours, you are sat at your desk, you're stressed, you're not breathing, you're crunched up, you're not dealing with other things. Then you're lying down for 8 hours. If you look at that on a pie chart, we've got a lot of work to undo before we start building up. And that sounds a little bit negative, like it's a really long journey, but just a little bit of consistency goes such a long way. So yeah, and I mean, with the platform, there's many different things. There's longer form plans, there's shorter form things. Depending on your personality, I always think it's quite funny. Some of my biggest success stories, there's 3 movements that they now do every day, and that's it. That's all they need to do. And it's that simple. And people always say, I can't believe it's that simple. And sometimes I'll work with someone and they'll get better, and then something will happen and they'll go work with someone else. And I keep a really close ecosystem with anyone, especially if I've had the privilege of working with them on a one-to-one basis. And then they'll circle back and they'll go, you know what, the third person I saw, they had me doing that one stretch that we used to do all the time. And, it's just the basics are the basics, and they remain the basics. And if everyone has that in their toolkit, then they really can just look after themselves. I've seen some incredible turnarounds. I've had some older clients who I have got them through both double hip replacements, and they are in better shape than they were before. And that's always something that I'm so happy to see. I've got a 79-year-old client who went back to the gym at 73 as she decided she wasn't quite done. From then until now, she has had both hips replaced. An excellently smooth process. She lives alone. She's completely independent, and it's incredible to see. Giving someone their physical body also gives them their independence, especially later on in life. I have had clients who women who have been unable to carry children, or at least been told not to carry children, who now have 2 kids, and not only have 2 kids, but is the active mom, is the one that's running around with them, and I think that is also one of my biggest things. I see a lot of parents, lower back slip discs, it can happen to anyone, but there tends to be a generalized age, especially in the male population, and it's about sort of mid 40s to early 50s. And often it can be men with young families and stressful jobs. There's a lot of combining factors. And that can have severe effects. I mean, I've started working with a couple where his wife is 5 months pregnant, and he's freaking out because he can't lift anything, and all he's thinking is, what help am I going to be? And that brings in so many different things to the situation, so many layers. And I mean, those are my favorite people to work with because it's such a perspective change. You're no longer, I was never going to be able to work in the fitness industry where people are coming to me and saying, whatever, I want a six pack. That's great. It's a great goal to have. But talk to me when you're like, if I'm going to go visit my kids next weekend and I can't keep up with them, I'm going to ruin the trip. If I'm in pain when I'm walking, I'm going to ruin the trip. Like that kind of, I need my body to work well. I need to not be in pain. I want to be able to pick up my kids. I want to be able to carry the bags. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to return to my job or not return to my job if I choose not to. But
Right.
whatever it is. And I largely work with success stories. And what I will say with that is with the physical body, it is continuous, right?
Yes,
So
for
you
sure.
can, and a lot of things that happen to us structurally don't change. So a slip disc, for example, it never goes back. You can have it surgically altered, yes, but most people don't. It's not recommended unless it's very clean cut.
No, yeah.
Unless it's a very
No.
straightforward case. So what you're doing is you're training your body around that. And like, anything can happen. You can have a trauma incident, you
Yep.
can fall back into a bad compensatory pattern and have to start again. However, the cycle, the approach is tried and tested, and it always gets you there. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's understanding that it's not just about stretching. We need a different approach. Sometimes it's about understanding this worked for this, but this now needs to happen. And that's okay. We can always change our approach, but the answer is always movement. The answer is
Love it.
always focus movement, focus breath. Our bodies are happy when they're moving. Our tissue is literally stimulated by load.
Yep.
We have a bunch of positive hormonal releases when we are doing physical activity.
Yeah.
It is only a plus.
Yes, 100%. And I think what you do is help those that maybe are in a place that they either don't know how or don't think they can because of, maybe they're, for whatever reason. But man, it's so important, and I'm so glad that you're doing it. And unfortunately, we have about a minute left, but I wanted to give you about, so if you have like in the next 30 seconds or so, what would you want to leave the audience with as we head out today?
If any practitioner is giving you a list of no's and it's longer than the list of yeses, find a new practitioner.
Yes.
Work with people, find people that are getting you to where you want to go, not giving you a long list of stayaways and don'ts. It is their job as a practitioner, whether that's as a physical therapist or whatever health professional, is to get you to the life that you want. There is always a way. And if that's not what the person in front of you is saying, then hit me up and I will help you out.
That's right. If you don't, because that's what we talked about before. If you don't like who you're working with, you can always fire them and go to the next person, even if they're a medical person. So
Exactly.
Yes. So,
exactly.
yep.
You have to keep that. It's you owe it to yourself to keep knocking on the doors until you get the right answer.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
especially in any chronic conditions, you can't accept it.
Exactly.
You owe it to yourself not to accept it.
Well, Kerryn, thank you so much for being here and for, the wealth of information that we've got today. There's so much there, and you are clearly passionate about what you're doing. And so I hope that people go to the QR code, reach out, ask questions, get in touch. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. Really
Absolutely.
enjoyed it.
Thank you. Man, okay. Holy smokes, that hour went fast. I tell you what, they always do though, right? I don't know about for you, but for me, they go gone. Sometimes I wish I had more 2 hours. Let's do 2 hours. But join us next time on Tuesday, September 16th, which will be our next episode. And follow, subscribe, share. Thank you for being here. And we will see you next time.